Thank you. We're all present, so I guess we'll go ahead. And would anybody like to make a motion to accept the minutes as circulated of the last meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, everyone in favor? Okay. All right, moving on. Jennifer.
Okay, so 2.1 is business arising. And the first item is the OLA Super Conference. So I have 3 staff registered, and OLA are registering 4 board members who indicated they wanted to attend. Please let me know by Friday if you haven't heard anything, and I will get on them. They have to do the board members registration manually, and they're only working 3 days a week in the office. Well, at all, actually. I imagine they're not necessarily in the office, and they're staggering who's working what days. So it's taking longer. But if you haven't heard anything by Friday, I will go ballistic on them and make sure you are registered for the conference.
Okay.
Okay. Has anyone heard yet at all? No?
Jennifer, have you for staff ones? No?
I don't know. I've been swamped.
Yeah.
I haven't even, but yeah, we have, because I went in and registered each one individually. But when they have to go in and do it manually, I know it's taking longer, and I have no access to that. It's because the board shares a board membership number.
Right.
Right. And then you have your individual email addresses. So it makes it a little bit different because they've never done it virtually before. Okay. But it's coming. But if you don't hear, let me know, and I'll figure it out. I did apply for the Canada Summer Jobs application. That's gone in today. I applied for 2 students, which is what we normally get. And we're very hopeful. I mean, I ticked all the right boxes, I think. We stand a very good chance of getting the grant. Whether by this summer we're still in the same place we were last summer and we have to say, sorry, no, we can't do it or not, is we won't know until closer to the time. But right. That's been done. We had talked at the last board meeting about fine review, Madam Chair. Did you want to speak to that?
About fines? Yeah, you and I were talking about that. I would like to make a suggestion that we defer fines for another 6 months or till the end of the year, whatever people think, and revisit it, because we're enclosed. We're closed. I mean, people can't, it's not normal at all, even not close to normal. So if we leave it till the summer at least, and then we can look at it as part of the budget process. But I'm open to suggestions or discussion.
What if we waive it for the rest of the year, and then in September, when we have a chance, we take a look at the whole picture, like we just have spend some time on it before we have to make another decision.
Okay, that sounds fine by me. We usually do the budget discussion sometime in August.
So
we start the process in our budget committee so that we can be prepared for when it goes to council. So I mean, who knows when things are going to be normal again, but it's looking not good right now.
No.
So if we waive it and then review it during the budget discussion, waive it till the end of the year, Connie?
Well, I was just wondering if the push you put on to ask people to bring the books back has that worked at all? Have we been getting any books back that we wouldn't have gotten back?
Jennifer?
You know?
You're muted, Jennifer. Sorry.
Jennifer,
you're muted.
Okay, should be able to hear me now. Yes, it has worked to get things back.
Okay.
However, I think we can probably find other ways now that we've got most of that back. I mean, one of the things was we've limited how many DVDs people could walk out the door with or have at any one time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big help. And I think, in terms of policies are board decisions. Right. In terms of making sure we can operate, that's the CEO decision, with my management staff talking to me about it. And I think we could, if we saw a problem arising with books, for example, I would just at this point, I would just institute limits and then come back to you to have that verified.
Well, that's good. I was just saying, in my mind, all of my life, fines have been sort of an incentive to get the book back.
Yeah,
But if
the other
we-
thing
if
I
we're
could
still
do is
getting
say,
it back,
you know,
if we're still
if we've
getting
got
it
this
back
many
on
books out,
our
they're this
system,
over, sorry to talk over you. If they're this overdue, you don't get to take anything else out. You know,
no,
typically, if you owe us more than $5, you can't
Right.
take anything else out. So
Right.
I think we could temporarily put in that, you know, if your items are this much overdue until you bring them back,
right.
you're not using our services.
Yeah.
So I can
And if we
support.
want to be really
Yes.
pissy, we can make it that they can't even use the e-resources, but I would hold that off until they're,
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
yeah, no, but we
But
can,
no, I
there
would,
are other ways.
I would support Mary's suggestion then that we wait, go the year and then revisit that.
Okay.
Okay. That's great. Can we get a motion, then a mover and a seconder and
Good.
married, Bob?
Bob?
I
Mary-
move that
Mary
we,
made the motion and
Mary
Bob
made
can
the
second
motion.
it.
oh,
Is that okay?
I move that we waive our fees for the remainder of this year,
Yeah.
this calendar year.
Well, let's
And
say fines. Fees could be a lot of things.
oh, okay, fine, sorry. Fine
Yeah.
for the remainder of this calendar year. And that we revisit this with the budget committee, who will bring forward some ideas to us in September about this for next year.
Okay, good. Right now, the system doesn't let you take any digital resources if you're overdue anyway. Like there's a self-correcting part of the system that does not permit you to use Libby to do any of the audiobooks, whatever. So that's already built into the system.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there are means and ways.
Yeah.
That's great. I did look into the debit machine issue, Bob, which is kind of moot if we're not charging fines for the rest of the year. But the treasurer did get back to me, and I've given you the information on the costs. Her feeling is that the amount of revenue we typically take in would not justify getting more debit machines because between the monthly fee and the remember, most of our fines would be under $5. Most people are really good. They owe a few bucks in fines, or you know, under $1 and they pay it. And to pay almost like it would, the only branch that might make it feasible in normal times is Stainer. The others, you'd be losing money. So, but it's good to know. If we didn't have the information, you couldn't make an informed decision on that. And I mean, there may come a time later, maybe in 2022 or something, where we're pulling in more money, not necessarily from fees. I know we get a lot, especially in Stainer, requests for faxes. I can't see us doing that. You know, even when people are coming in the door, there won't be that much money coming in anyway this year. But I think maybe when we're doing the budgeting for next year, I'll have the treasurer revise those figures so that the budget committee can come to the board with some suggestions for 2022. If we think it might be more feasible then, or at least we may still not think it's more feasible, but we'll have up-to-date numbers on what it would cost.
Right.
The kind of the reason for examining it was the COVID issue. So if that tends to go away on us, hopefully, then it's a moot point anyway. I don't think we would probably entertain the question if it wasn't for COVID.
And staff and I did come up with some ways of being able to take cash safely if we did get to that point. So I know one of our staff members in Creemore was quite concerned, but Midland has a good procedure, and I think we could follow that without having to invest in more technology. I mean, it would involve cans. That's okay. We can handle that technology.
You're asking our customers to go to the can, are you?
To make deposits in a can. Yes, that's even worse. But
John, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just a point of order, Madam Chair. I don't believe we voted on the fine review motion.
Oh, right.
Oh, right. Okay. We've had a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Moving on,
Hi,
Jennifer.
Kimberly.
So in my CEO's report, the first item is that we've been offered a donation of a print.
Mhm.
It's a print of a local individual, and it's by a local artist. They don't expect a tax receipt, which is great because I'm not an art evaluator, so that would be an extra expense if we were to do that. And I think there's some historical significance to the piece, and I would love it to be on display. I'd love it in Stainer, but it's up to you if we take it and where we put it. They're happy to have it in any branch if the board wants it.
Okay. Any suggestions or opinions?
I think if it fits in our Stainer branch, and I think that would be probably the closest community. I think that would work the best. We also have a Kemp print or original in the
Yes, we
Stainer
do.
branch as well, right?
Yes, we do.
Two.
Two of
Okay.
them. Yeah.
So they maybe belong together.
Yeah.
No, I've seen this print before. I think Leslie had it in her gallery when she had her gallery. It's very nice. And it does have historical significance. So I think, yeah, it's a good print to accept. And we should get it and then decide where it goes. But I think Stainer would probably be a good place.
Yeah. With our gratitude.
Okay, I don't need an official, if you're all in favor, I don't need a motion. It's
No,
fine.
okay.
if you just
We're all in
agree
favor.
to- I'll advise Leslie and she'll be very happy.
Is Leslie related to this person, Harold Miller?
No,
No.
she used to have an
Okay.
art gallery on the main
Do we
street.
have any existing Miller family descendants from Harold in our region?
I'm
We,
sure
we certainly have Millers. That's why I'm asking.
No, there must be some relatives, but I don't know how distant they would be,
Oh, okay.
how close the connection. Okay, we have a leak in the new Lowell branch, which Michelle, I believe, has gotten in touch with Bill Leingard, and he's willing to repair the ceiling, but he is getting us an estimate for what it will cost to repair the roof. And we're talking about the roof that's part of the addition where the washrooms are. So it's just dripping kind of into the hall there. We have buckets. It's not that drastic a leak. Michelle, can you get on him and get him to get a wiggle on with that estimate so we can get going there? It would be nice, when there's not 3 feet of snow on the roof, to see if we can get it fixed before spring.
I actually was talking to him today.
Okay.
So yeah, he's working on it.
Okay. All right.
How old is the addition?
Oh, well, the building opened in March of 2008. So I guess the addition went on in 2007. So we're beyond the warranty period.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
and that's okay. I just, what's it going to cost? And we'll move on from there. So it's not
Yeah.
like the whole roof will be replaced, but we don't want it to get any worse.
I would suggest, Jennifer, that if anybody in the Township of Clearview staff know anything about leaky roofs, that the staff at the library branches would understand that better than anybody.
Yeah.
So I have great faith that they're going to take good care of that.
Well, and Bill has fixed many of our leaky roofs. So, and the ones that he couldn't fix, like the flat roof in Stainer, he knew who to send us to get a good estimate for that.
Right.
So we're working on that.
Good.
And I talked about the potential state of emergency, and here we are. So we had already initiated when we went into lockdown that we cannot offer curbside service unless the part-time staff come into the building. And that's okay, because the most any of them work is 24 hours a week. Usually with only one other person that they're working with, and we ensure they social distance. But now we were working, the full-time staff were working 1 week from home and 1 week in the office. Now the township directive is that we try to work from home as much as possible. And we are doing that. When staff are at home for their full week, and even when they're working in the office, but trying to work from home as much as possible. I'm given, and I create a weekly log for each of them so that I know exactly what they've accomplished throughout that week, so I can ensure that productivity, I mean, let's face it, it's COVID, everybody's productivity has been affected, but we want to make sure what needs to get done and what we expect to get done is getting done. And so that is the same management tool that other department heads in Clearview are using, and it's been very effective so far. I will let you know if there comes a point when it isn't. So we are back at curbside. That's going very well. Our appointments are filling up, and Pam has a question.
Yeah, Jennifer, I just remember the last time when it was curbside pickup, if you put a hold on a book, you had to go to that certain branch. Is that happening again?
No, we are having Michelle move materials around. Now,
Okay.
to increase her safety, she is only dropping off as before inside the foyer, and staff are then coming masked into the foyer to pick up the materials. But we've reduced the amount of time she does that in a week to once. So you may not get it as quickly when we were doing it twice a week, but we want Michelle to be safe. And if she's the carrier, we want other staff to be safe. So it's all good. We in terms of COVID, further on, we are now required to also have face guards in addition to masks when we cannot be socially distant. Most of the time we are socially distant, but there are occasions when the staff are, you know, a little more than 6 feet apart. So all staff have been given a face guard. And everybody's got masks up the wazoo. We've got lots of those. That's not a problem. We have not had one occurrence of COVID in any of the libraries. We have had people getting tested. If you have to go into long-term care home to see or care for a member of your family, you are required to have a negative test. And that is true for some of our staff. So that's happened. And we did have one staff person whose spouse was in a workplace that had one person with a positive test. Their test has come back negative and our staff member has come back to work. Our door locks at the Stainer branch are being repaired. I believe they've been fixed and the timer on them has been changed to reflect our new closing hour, which is 8 p.m. We are not required to close at 8 p.m., even though most retail is, but we felt that we don't want people coming out to see us if they can't go and shop. And we think this would, you know, not only would that not be sending the right message out in terms of safety, but it wouldn't be very nice for our retail outlets. So we've moved everybody up an hour, and basically we've adjusted Creamore's hours, so they're now open in the evening from 6 to 8 instead of 7 to 9. So the only branch that is actually losing open hours is Stainer, and it's only 3 hours a week. And, you know, I have my fingers crossed that this will not go on forever. So it's a real temporary measure, I hope. As I talked about the door locks, in terms of the strategic plan review, what Diane, I was talking to you earlier today, and I just want to reiterate that although staff are being really productive, it's hard to accomplish some of these projects when you're working entirely from home. The township staff have access to their files through the server. We don't have a server. All our files are either paper, which we try to remember to bring the right ones home, or they're on our PCs at work. So, you know, you try to remember to bring the right stuff home or to email it to yourself. Sometimes that doesn't work. I think as we go through the year, you know, we're waiving fines. We're going to have to be flexible on some of the expected delivery dates for some of the projects that we're moving forward with. It doesn't mean they're not going to get done in this term of strategic plan, but maybe not quite in the timeline that we had expected. So just giving you a heads up on that. In terms of the transition to the new Stainer branch, I think that's pretty much done. Accessibility at this point in time, I have nothing to report. We'll wait until spring. Bob, I know you had raised the issue with the entrance to the door. into the new branch, and that's certainly part of what will be done in terms of resurfacing the parking lot and all that. I'm not sure of the timeline on that. I mean, it originally would have been spring, but I think everything's getting pushed off on that. However, I recognize that accessibility is important, and I will keep raising this. You know, when we get a new CAO, that will be one of the things that I speak to them about the importance of accessibility there. Organizational review and update. All my staff have got into me their job descriptions and changes that they think should be made to it based on the work they're actually doing. And I am working on that. It's just taking longer than I thought. In addition, you know, we are having more meetings relating to, well, we aren't here, but the staff and I and myself and the township staff are having more meetings related to the pandemic, and that there's a lot of ways that the pandemic is impacting our workflow beyond just the fact that we're working curbside, but it's coming forward, just not at the pace I had hoped. Space development and modernization. I don't have anything to report on that goal, nor do I have anything on the greening of the library at this time. If we get that leak fixed in New Lowell, we shouldn't have any greening there. Really happy that so many of you have decided you want to attend the board conference. It'll certainly be a new and different experience as it's all virtual this year. But it should be informative, and I would encourage you to go to at least some things that maybe you don't think are going to be directly beneficial to our library, but that you're interested in. You're there to grow as well as to gain information and ideas for our library. So I want you to enjoy it as well as be able to come back with some interesting things for us to try or look at. I'm also looking for staff. Diana, I had spoken to you about several staff are taking Excel programs from the Southern Ontario Library Service, but as Souls has also come out with their last round of workshops and sessions that can be taken online. Michelle and I will be looking at who should be selected to go to which. It should work a little better now because a lot of things now you don't necessarily have to do at a specific time. You know, you can see not live. So we're working towards that. And item 2.3 is the November statistics. The statistics are taking a little longer to get together again because I'm not in one place to put them all together. But they're still pretty good. Certainly our e-resources are quite high. Like that's over 30,000 e-resource usage in November. And I expect December will be very similar. And membership, these are new memberships I've listed there. And a lot of these are coming in to me at home through email. So I'm sending out applications. They're sending back their driver's license or proof of residency and their application completed. And we're doing it all virtually, which is where we were when we were closed down, but we're really good at it now. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the number of people joining, considering they can't even come in the building, is, I think, impressive. I know this is November, but from what I've seen of the even January's numbers for new members is pretty much on target for that. Are there any questions related to the stats? I know I left off Twitter, Pam, because I couldn't draw that out at home. But
what were the new members? I don't see it on the report I have here.
I don't have that either.
Oh, crap. You know why? Because I printed it and it's on both sides and you only got one side.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So just turn it over then.
Okay.
We had 20 new members in November, one from Mulmer and the rest from Clearview Township.
Wow.
Our circulation was 7,061 items. And the year before it had been 7,395. So that's not far off. And our e-resources were 30,888.
Good.
And, you know, I'm getting emails and calls every day because my contact information is out there about how to get into the e-resources. So that's one of the reasons, you know, they want our e-books, but they also want to use our databases.
Right.
So sorry about that. We'll try to unglitch that for next. 3.1 was the communication I had from Leslie Martell with the picture of the print. I'm very excited that you said yes. I think it'll make a great addition to the Clearview Public Library's art portfolio. And we've got the accounts, and I promised you the account, so I'm going to show, if I can do this, I'll share my screen. If I can find what I'm sharing my screen with. Okay. Hold on a sec. It's not working. Well, it's not letting me do it either. Okay, I'll read it off to you then. All right, so virtually we've had, the only growth we've had in December was in interest. Okay, there were no deposits. At the beginning of December, our Clearview Public Library account was sitting at $60,243.07. By the end of the month, it had gone up a whopping, it was sitting at $60,278.89. Now, the Stainer Library Building Project account for December began the month at $100,495.87 and ended the month at $100,555.62. So there's not a lot of change there. It's all interest. Hopefully, when we get a little further going, we'll see a change there. Your worship, did you want to speak to the Stainer Library Building Fund account?
I have nothing further to report other than yourself and I, as the CEO, we had a conversation about it. So hopefully we'll see a contribution show up soon.
And then the next item on the agenda, Madam Chair, is
Before we leave
yes,
that,
Bob.
I just ask our mayor, we're having difficulty making donations to the library right now as far as transferring securities. So I've been trying for about a year to make my donation commitment, but I can't do it.
Oh.
So it seems that the arrangements have been made with the TD Bank, but they were made in our former treasurer
Edward.
Edward. They were made in Edward's name. He was the controller of that account. So it's not available to staff at the present time. And what I'm wondering is whether we could, maybe a workaround is that rather than try to change the administration setup for that account, can we get her to open a new account with her as the administrator?
Well, certainly, we'll talk to the treasurer. If there's any accounts that still have Edward listed as the person responsible, we need to clarify that and get that sorted out. Bob, why don't you give me a phone call offline and we can have a conversation with our treasurer. We can directly work that out.
Okay.
Is that comfortable?
Yeah, sure.
All right, no problem.
Okay, good. That was. Okay, Going through the general ledger, were there any questions or comments that?
Jennifer, what period of time does that cover?
So it's dated December 8th, but I would probably say it third week of November, last week of November. It's probably not quite up to December 8th. And some of the amounts are still incorrect for some reason. The budget, of course, for Grants Ontario for revenue was 25,800. It's been received. The township has it. It just hasn't. They have to take it in through one account and then make a ledger adjustment. And obviously that hasn't happened in this period, even though they've had it since October. So we also have been paid both our municipal contract fees. So although it says for municipal contract 720, the entire amount from Mulmer and Agilitas has been paid. So not all of these lines are accurate. And I can speak to Kelly about that, but I'm sure she's having issues with getting some things that aren't, crisis important done in a speedy time line as well. But are there any expense issues that anyone has noted? I know, Diane, you had talked about how the membership fines had gone up, and that's largely because nobody told us fees were going to go up for particular memberships until we'd already approved the budget last year. So they are up a little bit, but that's not a big budget line to begin with.
So our contracted municipalities they don't appear to be paying their way, is that?
Yes, they are. I've received from them. It's just they haven't made the ledger adjustment to reflect it in this.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I have to say, of course, is that if we get a report that's wrong, it's not much point in looking at it. So,
Well, it's good for me, Bob, because I do go through for the major ones that I see, and I checked to make sure that, maybe it looks wrong here, but it's a good wake-up call for me to see if there's something grossly wrong with what's happening in another department.
What if we just look at some of the expenses, though? We're talking about salaries and wages, benefits, 56% variance with 11 months in. There's something that should be pretty. That should be almost an automatic thing by now, shouldn't it?
You would think. I always get screwed up with the salaries and benefits because it's split three ways. 106, actually. Pretty much dead on. I will meet with Kelly and try to iron out some of these things. It's like the same for oh no, that's capital contribution. Okay. Part of it is because she hasn't hit year end. Like if you go down on the second page to capital revenue, there's 91,920 that was budgeted. Well, that's a transfer from our operating to the capital budget. And she doesn't do that until the end of the year.
Yeah.
So you're always going to see that that's a bit off. Fortunately, our integrated library software has an acquisitions component. So we do track what, at least in materials we buy, against what the actual budget is. So I know where we are, even though this doesn't tell me. In years past, it would have actually given me the number that we had spent up to this date and what we had spent in the current period. But let me have a talk with her, Bob, because you raised a good point that we should be seeing things that really reflect year to date for most of these items.
I guess so. My concern is that I would have expected that if we have an expense charged to one of our GL accounts, it should be there's got to be an automated system behind this that would update our GL, and if it's not, then perhaps there is a systemic problem that we really need to have fixed. And I know Kelly's, she's still cutting her teeth a bit, and but for us to get the report and not be confident with the numbers,
Yeah.
there's really not much point in us looking at it, is there?
No, let me have a talk with her and see if we can get something better for next month, or at least get an explanation of why it is the way it is. And how soon it will be fixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, let me have a talk with her. Okay, and that is all I have, Madam Chair. So
Okay, would anybody like to bring up any new business? No. Okay. I guess we'll meet again next month. Can we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Can you
Oh.
hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was taking a little time there to unmute myself. I just wanted to acknowledge Jennifer's efforts and her team for really handling everything so well. And there's a lot of challenges, and I'm thankful I'm not managing the situation myself. So I just think we should all commend her on her performance publicly. So here we are.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, did someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Pat,
Okay,
John?
John? Fine. We don't need an all in favor for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see everybody next month. Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Take care.
You guys.